Hi there, my name is Sarah Gordon,
Hi, my name is Annie Clark.
and we are now going to take you through some of our favourite tools that we make use of when we are doing online training. So, Annie, what are your favourite tools?
I think my first favourite tool that I use is a starter question. So often people will be joining the virtual training room before we're ready to start. And so I would have that on a slide. So it might be what percentage or how many, and ask people to think about that before we actually start the session. And then I'll come to that really early on. And I often have a virtual prize that I can give, which is a medal, is a picture of a medal. So I really like doing the starter question. I think also bringing in an element of challenge as well. So we've been doing a lot of work with managers recently who've been setting challenges like bring your pet to work. So they were trying to see who had the most exotic pet at home, and there was a tortoise and a couple of rabbits and things like that. And then another of the challenges was who can wear the most fancy hat to the training. So if you're doing a couple of seminars, you can maybe set them that as their homework from seminar 1 to seminar 2. And then you think about adapting your current training so that you bring it online. So one of the tools that I might sometimes use is a word search. And what we do is we have that word search up on screen, and we get people to use the annotate function on Zoom to see how many words they can get on the word search. So if you need a little bit of energy, you need a little bit of a break to think about what's coming next, you might like to have a bit of a word search in your pocket. So they're probably 3 of the tools that I really like to use, which are sort of outside of the functionality of Zoom or Microsoft Teams, whatever you choose to use. How about you, Sarah? What do you like to use?
Well, you have set the bar high as always, Annie Clark. That is glorious, and I'm certainly going to steal some of those for my future sessions. Things that we like to do are so when people first come into the meeting, that sort of holding page, as it were, we will usually have some links across to some little YouTube clips, and so they might either be how to actually use the online tool, but then also maybe some fairly funny kind of introductions to some of the learning that you might do that day. Because as we know, some people dial in really early, like 50 minutes before you're going to start, somebody will dial in. Exactly. And so that's something where actually we'll give them something to do and make them feel welcome. And what we will often do as well is make that sort of the background image something with a bit of humor. And so, as you know, I always like to use Lego. And so, for example, here are some of my little Lego men in isolation.
So cute. I love that you're theming it.
Oh, yeah. So, and this is something then where the theme can kind of roll through the training as well. And so people who came on one of our sessions a couple of weeks ago, there was almost quite a lot of chatter around, well, what would the next Lego themed picture be? Which was hilarious because I was making them as we were doing the training. You know, there was no preparation going on there. So I think, kind of really thinking about how do you welcome people at the beginning. Trying to inject some humor into that through using things like Lego or whatever, and being fairly self-effacing to say, we're all in this together. Bring your toddlers, bring your dogs, bring your husbands or your wives or whatever. They're all welcome. And then finally as well, using music. So obviously without breaching copyright or anything like that, there are some hilarious COVID-19 type soundtracks going on out there, which again, I think just makes people laugh, which is always a good mindset to be in at the beginning of training.
I love that.
But in the way of like electronic tools, Annie, have you got any favorites that you're using at the moment?
Well, I am a big fan of stickers. So the stamp function in Zoom, I really love, because what we might do is we might have 5 points up around challenges or benefits, and we'll ask people to stamp which ones they're seeing or which ones that they're experiencing. So I really like the whiteboard function in Zoom. And I think the other technique that I found has been really powerful is the breakouts, when you've got a good enough size group, and just getting them to generate ideas based on the live issues that they're experiencing. I find that works really well. What's your favorite? Have I picked your two favorites?
Well, I'm gonna step outside of the world of Zoom and say, of course, I know, shock horror. Because of course, because you can share your screen, you can make use of all of those other online tools that are out there, like things like Mentimeter, which is always great in online training, or in face-to-face training anyway. You can use it in exactly the same way online. So, different types of surveys or questions and all of that, sort of word clouds, etc. And of course, there are a myriad of other online tools that are out there that you can use, that just not necessarily within Zoom or Teams or whatever platform you're using, Blue Jeans, etc. You can still use all of those other tools. So Mentimeter is still a favorite. And then things like making sure that if you're doing pre-learning surveys, or perhaps if you're having to do a test at some point in time just to check on the learning, doing that rather than sending it out in PDF and getting people to fill it in, because of course ordinarily in face-to-face training they'd be doing it by hand. Use something like Survey Gizmo or something like that, where you can put together really fast surveys, but that ask the questions in a nice interactive way that also are friendly for your mobile phone as well as on a PC or whatever you might be using. So we make use of those other tools as well, just to make it a bit different. But the big caveat has to be said that if you are planning on using anything from a whiteboard to breakout rooms to Mentimeter to Survey Gizmo to whatever else, always have a backup plan, because at some point in time it will fall over. And I don't think I'm alone in saying that we've split groups into breakout rooms and then lost them because Zoom has died on us. And so that's a case of, before you break up, make sure that everybody knows what the default is to get back in again, which is just go back to your original invitation, and don't worry, we will restart everything and we will find one another. Because otherwise the propensity for things to go wrong, because it does go wrong every so often, is there. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I've had many a disaster, several last week, to be honest. So I think when you are setting instructions online, you have to be even clearer. So I always say with face-to-face, you need to repeat yourself twice. I would say with online, it's at least twice. And don't forget about using the chat function. So what we've been doing is, when one of us has been summarizing or setting instructions, is we've been typing those main points as well, so that they have that. So yeah, that clarity is absolutely vital, because you do lose people, / delete people in my case.
So on that note, our next little session is obviously going to be about disasters that we've had, so we're going to bear all. But thanks very much, Annie. I think that was I've certainly learned lots from you just now.
Likewise, Sarah. Thanks.
Okay.